All right. Are we ready? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order at 6:02. Can we, Vice Mayor Daniels, would you lead us in the flag salute, please?
I pledge allegiance
Okay. Can I call the roll, please?
Councilmember Karpinski Costa.
Present.
Councilmember Lopez Taft.
Here.
Councilmember Middleton.
Here.
Vice Mayor Daniels.
Here.
And Mayor Schaefer.
Here. Next item, please.
This meeting of the Citrus Heights City Council is cablecast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T Uverse cable systems. This meeting is closed captioned and live streamed at citrusheights.net. Tonight's meeting replays on Monday, August 14th at 9 a.m. on Channel 14. This meeting can also be viewed at the city's YouTube channel.
Great, thank you. Next item, please.
Next item is approval of agenda.
Move approval.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. Next item, please.
Next item is public comment, and if you wish to address the council during the meeting, please fill out a speaker identification sheet and give it to the city clerk. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes each. When your name is called, please step forward to the podium and state your name for the record. And at this time, Mayor, I did not receive any blue speaker cards as of yet. I do have one that was submitted earlier today to be read during the meeting tonight. And I did have another speaker card that was submitted online. Amladi is the last name, and Johnny, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Okay, do we have anyone here that wishes to make a public comment, has filled out a speaker card? Seeing none, could you read the public comment, please?
So I will read the public comment. It was submitted by Rick Hodgkins. I want to start off my comments by saying that I have COVID and therefore could not make it to tonight's meeting. So I wish that this was being streamed on Zoom. My comments are the following. About 5 days ago, back on Saturday, August 5th, I was crossing eastbound on Sunrise to go to Leatherby's to use my free Sunday coupon I collected from last month's City Scoop, that which I may not be able to attend this month. As I was crossing east on Sunrise, a driver in a white BMW had the nerve to block the crosswalk at the other end of it. Me being a blind person, he's lucky I wasn't angry enough to smack his windshield with my cane. Instead, someone else saw the whole thing and that they were able to come in, help me out. But this should not be happening. There needs to be something at the intersection, even if lights are out, to tell drivers to yield outside of a crosswalk before they enter it. Furthermore, as a person that is blind, I would take note and report Orange Grove Avenue as well as El Camino Avenue and San Juan Avenue, that they have a talking signal that when pressed on an arrow button, it will say, wait to cross College Oak Drive at Orange Grove Avenue. The pedestrian control signals on El Camino near Watt do the same thing, and then the chirping signal is very loud and loud enough so a blind person like myself can hear it. Thank you, that is all.
Well, thank you. We wish Mr. Hodgkins well, hopefully gets better soon. And I noticed that we had some new people come in, so was there somebody that filled out a speaker card today that would like to speak in public comment?
Hi, was it, I'm sorry, did I pronounce, I don't know if I pronounced it. And Jan, yes. You can come up to the podium now and address the council for 5 minutes.
Hi there.
Hello.
My name is Anjani Amladi. I'm a physician in the community, and we've been living in Citrus Heights for the last 4 years. I apologize for being a little late. We have a tiny human that kind of causes us to run behind sometimes. Did you already read the card?
I did not read it. If
Oh,
you would
okay.
like to state what your comments are.
I was hoping you would read it. But let's see, okay. I would like to respectfully request your attention to an urgent, potentially life-threatening traffic concern. On Old Auburn Road between the cross streets of Mariposa and Veteran Lane, there appears to be a no parking zone where a neighbor continues to park his vehicles. I live on a private driveway shared with 2 other neighbors.
Give me 1 second, could you slow down? just-
Oh, I'm sorry. Where was I?
Can you repeat, can you go Mariposa, and I couldn't hear the second?
Oh, Mariposa and Veteran Lane.
Oh,
It's
okay.
a really teeny tiny lane. You're nodding your head, so you know. There appears to be a no parking zone where a neighbor continues to park his vehicles. I live on a private driveway shared with 2 other neighbors. When we pull out of our driveway, the view of the road and oncoming traffic is completely obstructed when vehicles are parked in the area of mention. This has already resulted in a near-fatal car accident involving my neighbor's son on July 21st, 2023, and several near misses with my family and that of my neighbors. Several of us have asked the neighbor who continues to park his vehicles there to please park on their own property or somewhere safer. Law enforcement has also spoken to him, but unfortunately, they refuse to abide by their requests. When the vehicles are parked there and obstruct our view of the road, we are risking our lives every time we need to leave the driveway to go to work, the grocery store, or to drop off or pick up our children from school. We urgently request that something be done before a near-fatal car accident that has already occurred becomes a true fatal accident. The city has an opportunity to potentially save lives. We urgently request your assistance with this matter. I did want to say that I got a response from the city this morning, specifically Leslie Blomquist and Rachel Malden have been absolutely fantastic. I don't know if they're here today, but
Just turn around, she's right there.
hi, nice to meet you. I just wanted to say thank you very much. We really appreciate it. And also thank you to law enforcement, who we've called many times to, I've never met you, but thank you very much for all of your help. We're already on our way to getting this fixed. So from the bottom of my heart, as a parent and as a physician who really prides myself in being proactive about things before they become issues, I just really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Okay, any other public comment?
I do not have any others.
Seeing none. Anybody else would like to speak? Going once, going twice? Okay, closing the public comment. On the next item, please.
Next item is presentation number 4, a proclamation honoring Chris Myers on the occasion of his retirement from the city of Citrus Heights.
And I have asked Councilwoman Portia Middleton to read that for us.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight, we have the pleasure of recognizing Chris Myers, our long-serving Facilities and Grounds Manager that retired from the city of Citrus Heights. He's unable to join us tonight, and therefore, I'll read this proclamation, and we'll make sure it's given to him. Here we go. It's kind of long because he did a lot of great stuff for us. Chris Myers began his career with the city of Citrus Heights as a full-time city staff member of the General Services Department in July of 2001, and concluded his chapter at the city of Citrus Heights in July of 2023. And prior to becoming an official city employee, Christopher supported the maintenance and operations of what was once known as the Fountain Square Nursery, which later became the interim home for the Citrus Heights City Hall, bringing with him exceptional knowledge of the campus, history of the community, and talent in maintaining the beloved fountains, Koi Pond, and nationally recognized and award-winning Rose Garden. And during Christopher's 22-year tenure with the city, he served in various capacities, including senior maintenance worker, maintenance coordinator, facilities and grounds supervisor, and ultimately facilities and grounds manager. His extensive training and awareness of horticulture and arboriculture positioned him for the responsibilities over citywide landscape and tree maintenance programs throughout many of his years with the city. And Christopher was instrumental in establishing and supporting the city's volunteer program by creating opportunities for our senior community-led their knowledge, wisdom, and experience to help care for many of the amenities and buildings we enjoy today. And his knack for training and mentoring extended beyond his staff members and to a youth diversion program, allowing opportunities for young, challenged individuals to gain the experience and skills and some chance at redemption. And Christopher lent his talents in architecture and project management to deliver on design and construction of the Citrus Heights City Community Center. With this project, Christopher was charged with and successfully developed a new team to support the ongoing operations of the community center, including establishing rental policies, fee programs, and instituting a reservation system. And To his vast daily responsibilities, Christopher also spearheaded the design and construction of both the Sylvan Community Center as well as the Sayonara Center, providing neighborhood venues for grassroots programs to gather and thrive. And he supported the design and construction of the new City Hall campus and buildings, as well as all logistics surrounding moving and relocating of staff throughout the project. And through Christopher's love of color and art, he incorporated legacy walls into our civic buildings for past, present, and future city staff to enjoy, remember, and reflect. And his abilities for organizing and his love for the community extend to his leadership over numerous city events, including the Red, White, and Blue Parade, Sunday Fun Day, and the tree lighting ceremony. And Christopher's immeasurable contributions to the countless projects and programs he has executed over the years, many we still benefit from and enjoy today, will forever be his gift. And the impact Christopher has had on the Citrus Heights community, the agency, and especially his coworkers, will be remembered for many years long after his retirement. Now, therefore it be resolved that the City Council of the City of Citrus Heights does hereby commend Christopher Myers for his many contributions, steadfast dedication, and exceptional service, extending to him the sincerest gratitude and appreciation for all he has done for the city and this community and those who live, work, and play here. In witness thereof, the City Council, the mayor has set his hand to the seal this 10th day of August 2023.
Great, thank you so much for a job well done there. And I'm going to ask the council for comments. Dr. Jana, would you have a comment?
Well, first I want to say that everything that was in the whereases is so true, and you realize if you've seen him on campus, he never looked like he was working. You know, just like, because he smiled, but he got so much done, and he organized things so well that it seemed easy for him, and he was easygoing. He was just, you know, I was been involved with the city since cityhood, and so was always working with Chris. He was always open to ideas. He was just incredible. He is incredible. It's an incredible loss to the city to have him retire. And I know that he definitely built that community center. He and I forget her name, Monica, did all of that. I mean, Henry didn't have to do hardly anything because these guys just handled it so well. They did a good job. I'm going to miss him very much.
Any additional comments, Portia?
Yes, I remember when we first came here and we wanted to do Cookies with Santa, and Chris was amazing. He was phenomenal with helping us to figure out where to be in the community center, and that really got us started with understanding the vast majority of the work that he does here. He makes it so easy for you to integrate into this community, and I hope that the next individual who steps into his shoes continues with that, because that is the thing that really makes Citrus Heights a strong and thriving community. It's from the illustrious work of Chris Myers.
Jane?
I did not have the pleasure to know Chris Myers through this proclamation. I am jealous for those relationships, but it's another testament to how wonderful our city staff is.
Brett?
Thank you. Yeah, the thing about Chris is that it wasn't just a job. It wasn't just a paycheck. It was a commitment to serve the people of Citrus Heights, the city, and what a great man. I'll miss that smile, and we're a little less shiny today.
And I did have the pleasure of meeting Chris on several occasions. We were not close, but I will tell you that he was phenomenal at the work that he did. He was so phenomenal that we actually split that job into 2 jobs instead of 1. So for him to handle all that he did was what a great employee and a great person of service for the city of Citrus Heights. So with that, I think.
You know, what would be really cool is if when you deliver the proclamation to him, if some of the staff members who remember him send something along too, because I'm sure that they all have memories of him. So I'd like, have staff have the opportunity to express their good wishes and.
Yeah, definitely great comments about Chris Myers. Definitely a great man, great colleague, did a ton for the city. And there's no doubt that the staff will shower him with the similar love that the council did when that proclamation is delivered. But can't say enough
Ask
about
him
what
what he
Chris
did
did.
with the piano I donated. I donated it to the senior center, then I never saw what happened to it. He probably thought it was an old upright that I schlepped around for, 25 years everywhere I moved with my piano. And I didn't play. I thought maybe someday I will. And so I donated it, and then I never saw what happened to it. This is ugly, but maybe he found a better home for it.
Well, like many things, I bet Chris would know, but others may not right now. So, but I'm sure he does. But thank you for that. Thank you for those kind words. We'll make sure that Chris gets that proclamation, absolutely.
Great. All right, with that, can we have the next item, please?
The next item is comments by council members and regional board updates.
Dr. Janey, let's start with you.
Thank you. Well, I'll just go backwards this way. Today I had my favorite committee I serve on, which is the Sacramento Transportation Authority. The reason it's not my favorite, it's very complicated, bond, debt, and stuff that is not in my, so we refinanced our swap bonds to regular B fixed rate bonds. The agenda packet was 472 pages, because most of it was all about the bonds. But they kind of are looking, well, two things that I like about what STA does is the Freeway Service Patrol. It's an incredible service that if you break down on the freeways, they're there like this. Even if you call AAA, and AAA will call the service, the Freeway Patrol, and get you up and gone. They change your tire, so people have written to us thanking for the service. It's a really good service. It's nice. And so we finance that with your Measure A monies, and that's the countywide sales tax. They are looking for ways to raise more funds. Stay tuned. They want to think about putting another sales tax hike on the ballot. I'm not going to support that. We've got enough sales tax. But they will be looking at it. Then working backwards, the sewer meeting was canceled. We did go to National Night Out, all of us, and I did go to the Chasen one, but before that I went to one in my district in Area 6. And then I did, if I could see my own handwriting. Oh, we went to the elected official kind of a reception for elected officials put on by the Chamber of Commerce, and I believe we were all there for that. And that was very nice of the Chamber to get all the elected officials together so we can kind of network and meet some of the people we don't see in the normal course of our service. And now, we did not have a mosquito meeting, but I wanted to just share with you the importance that every time you might be seeing ads on TV about using repellent. We have a great speaker that you might see her in the ad. She's terrific. So every week, the state puts out an arbovirus report. And so it comes out every Friday. So this data is from last Friday. As of last Friday, we've had 8 human cases in the state of California. None in our county, but it takes a while because these are people who were bitten between June 30 and July 20. So it takes a while for the reports to go through the privacy with the medical officers in the counties. And of the 8, all were males. The average age was 43. The 75% of them had neuroinvasive disease, which is the more serious form. 2 positive blood donors were found. When they donated blood, they found out that they had been exposed to West Nile. So it is out there. In Sacramento County, we have had, let's see, that's not, oh, here. This is important to me. We've had 83 positive dead birds in our county. This is a bird disease, so when the birds die, the virus is out there being spread around to the humans. So we've had 83 birds that have died. We've had 151 positive mosquito pools. They put the traps out, they collect them every week, and they call them a pool because they take all the mosquitoes that are in the trap, pull them together and test them for virus. So it might be, 5 mosquitoes in a batch, but the pool is positive. So I still want to remind people that even in the ad on TV shows that even in a small upside-down cap from your water could be a source for mosquito breeding. So, you know, it's at least through the end of September. It's a real danger, so if you could just kind of be careful. A lot of people like to go camping. It's still a time. And what else did I have? My handwriting is so bad. It's like, there's something else I did, but I can't see what it was. That's my report.
That's your report, okay. Councilwoman Portia Middleton, what would you up to?
Okay, well, we all went to National Night Out. That was a blast. I got to take my kids out, and they got to play on the bounce house and slide down the slide. I didn't really get to move from that one spot, but not complaining. It was great. We had a lot of fun. They enjoyed themselves. There was also, today was the first day back to school for our San Juan students. And I just want to remind everybody to be mindful about the speed limits in those school zones. Watch out for those kids with the backpacks on, traveling by foot or on bicycle, come to a full stop. Just keep an eye out. We want to make sure our kids get to school safe and, we don't have any tragedies out there. And I think all of us received this SMUD letter in our inboxes. There's going to be a total of 4 rate increases of 2.75% happening January of '24, May of '24, and January of 2025, and May of 2025. So almost a 10% increase that's going to be happening. If you wanted to go to the public hearings, you already missed them. They were on August 3rd and back in July. But there is another meeting coming up. There's another public hearing coming up on Wednesday, August 30th. That'll be the last one. So if you really want to get out there and make it known how you feel about it, please show up to that meeting. And there should be more information at smud.org. And that is my report.
Great. So, Jane, what have you been up to?
All right, I didn't think I was up to much, and then I started writing things down. I went to a grand opening for New Songs, which is a new business here in Citrus Heights. Always wonderful to attend those because we want to welcome each business to our city as much as possible. National Night Out on the 1st. I wanted to specifically thank Lieutenant Lewis, who is my cop buddy, and he knew all the streets and how to get there most efficiently. So I appreciate that. And our neighbors really love to see our police officers in the community. And I can't tell you how much I heard about how wonderful our police officers are. And I hear that in many different places, not just because I was standing next to a cop, but because I see them in the community and they talk to me about how that is the number one thing they love about the city. I attended the Homeless Policy Commission, and they gave a report on their local homeless action plan, the LHAP, and they're documenting more effectively the activities, not only the numbering of the individuals who are unhoused, but also the types of programs and services that they can take advantage of, housing, and what happens after. So they are making progress. It's slow but sure, and it seems that coordination is really happening. So that's something to look forward to, because as they add more information, it just becomes fuller for the public to understand where those dollars are going. And you can do math and say, okay, we put in this many dollars, and this is how much service we provided for those dollars. I think truth in reporting as far as tax dollars are concerned is very important. I attended a 5-chamber lunch, and again, it's about bringing awareness for businesses to our cities. And we had the pleasure of partnering with not only for our own Citrus Heights Chamber, but Rancho Cordova, Carmichael, Orangevale, and Fair Oaks combined for this. And again, I heard wonderful stories from Citrus Heights residents who were just glad to see an elected official attend, different events. Yesterday, I attended a program called Project Attain, but it wasn't the program that was the most special thing. Again, I have a theme here. I accidentally met a Citrus Heights resident who moved to the area 2 years ago. She could not let me go to any sessions because she was glowing about our city. She had come from unincorporated Sacramento, and she said moving to Citrus Heights was the absolute best thing that she's ever done. And so I wanted to share that with you. She had mentioned to me, please give whoever wants to do an interview with me because I have more to say. And I was thinking, more? We just spent an hour talking. But I hear that more often than not. So if you are a little bit wondering, is this the right city for you? It is. I hear it at least once a week, which is amazing. I attended our Chamber Community Affairs meeting. This is an open meeting for all chamber members. I think it's really important to know what are laws that are potentially being passed or talked about in our legislative bodies around business, business attraction, business support, or job-killing legislation that might be coming. So this was a great meeting. And then finally, again, all about business support, attended the Sunrise Marketplace board meeting today, and that's it for me.
Great. Vice Mayor Daniels, what have you been up to?
Thank you, sir. Start out with, kids are back in school. Please be careful. I want to really extend my appreciation for seeing a police motor unit go by the school this morning as I was dropping off my little daughter. Nice to see that, and I saw a posting about another one up in Sylvan. So thank you very much for making sure those officers are in a very good place at a very good time. Very important. I recently, this week I believe it was, attended the Chamber of Commerce lunch where we had to endure a presentation by the chief, which is never exciting, but, oh, he's here? Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, very exciting presentation by the chief who always entertains the crowd and makes even things like crime statistics exciting and fun. So thank you very much for that, Chief. Attended the Sunrise Marketplace board meeting today. A lot of good things going on, and we shouldn't always assume things, so I'm going to tell you that if you don't know what the Sunrise Marketplace is, it's a PBID, a property-based improvement district. I think I got that right. Basically a 1 square mile around the Sunrise Mall area that works to keep the area clean, vibrant, advertised, and all those fun things. And so they do a very, very good job and a very important job. Attended National Night Out with my other council members. Had a great time. Got to have some ice cream. Got to ride around with Lieutenant West, which is a real treat. If you ever get to do a ride along or something like that, request him. It was a good time. And we got ice cream, we got strawberry shortcake. It was wonderful, just wonderful. So if you didn't engage your community on August 1st, National Night Out this year, please try to next year. There's a lot of great events throughout the city. A couple of the neighborhood associations put on gangbuster events, and it gives you a chance to get out with your neighbors and just meet each other under great circumstances. And especially I recommend highly that you expose your children to that. Be a wonderful thing. I attended also the ribbon cutting ceremony at New Song with Council Member Jane, and now have a daughter signed up for voice lessons starting next Monday. So we're excited about it. I'm very excited about the business. And again, if you're looking for a really nice, cool place to take your kids to maybe do voice lessons, instrument lessons, piano, sax, what else was around there? Violins. Oh, yeah. But make sure they leave the violin there. But it's a good place. It's a good place, so please check it out. And the only other thing I have, I believe, is our next City Scoop is coming up on August 16th, 6:30 p.m. It will be at the Sylvan Community Center, and that is on Sylvan Road across from the Veterans Center. So please come out, have some ice cream, again, meet some of your neighbors. We figure if we feed you, you'll come out. So come on out and have a good time, and we promise it won't be as hot this time. That's it.
Great, thank you.
That was the
So-
one I forgot, because I wore this blouse to remind me.
So, let's see, starting out on August 1st, I did attend National Night Out. It was, Chief was kind enough to chauffeur me around to 3 different groups. A brand new one right in my neighborhood. It was really great to meet all the neighbors, all those folks I hadn't met before, and really, really great, good time, really good food. I really appreciate the folks that on a hot day were standing in front of the grill serving up burgers and hot dogs and working hard at the same time entertaining their neighbors. So big shout out to all those folks that did that job. But it was a really great time. So we had 2 in my neighborhood and then 1 over in Seabarsea Park, which was a really enjoyable time. That neighborhood is just, thank you, Kathy Morris. You built a great organization there. And I know that you're retired, so thanks for being here. Anyhow, so moving on to that was on the 1st. On the 3rd, I was at the grand opening of the Ace Hardware. That was Miller's Ace Hardware at the corner of Madison and Fair Oaks. Great store. I bought this big giant chair. It looks ridiculous, but it's one I could sit in and my feet wouldn't touch the ground, and I'm 6'5". So it gives you an idea how big this chair was, but it's really kind of a fun thing. The grandkids loved it. And so yeah, that was a great time. And then this is yesterday, had the SACOG Policy and Innovation Committee meeting. And we, essentially, that was just a lot of housekeeping stuff. There was some much needed improvements in software. It's just, every time I hear the software number, it's just crazy money how expensive the software is to maintain. And again, when we upgraded our software here at the city, I asked the rep who was here, what the lifespan is, and he really couldn't give me an answer to that. But they were upfront. They said this is a 5-year program, but very expensive on a yearly basis. So then, that was also yesterday. I am delighted to say, so I belong to the Sacramento Valley Manufacturing Alliance, and they have the very first of its kind. We had a representative from the state there, and the very first of its kind across the nation. This is a competency-based apprenticeship program. So there's no set time on how much time you have to accomplish the tasks that are within that apprenticeship program. So you can speed right through. You might be able to get done in 6 months or a year versus some of the other apprenticeship programs that require you to have 4 years experience. So you get credit for what you already know and for your ability. So what we were doing yesterday is we're putting together a similar program for quality control. This is mechanical inspection, much needed, a very high-paying wage across the nation. If some young person wants to engage in that, certainly encourage them to reach out to me. So I also just want to remind people that the City Scoop event that we had in the Greenback, sort of green space area, there was 200 people that came out to that. That was a pretty amazing event. It really surprised me how many people came out to that. And the ice cream was great from the Leatherby's. I want to recognize them for donating the ice cream, or for providing the ice cream, I should say. So with that, just want to remind people that as some of the other folks here, August 16th at Sylvan Community Center. And with that, we'll move on to the next item, please.
Our next item is consent calendar items 5, 6, and 7.
What's the pleasure of the council, please?
I'd like to just make a comment on item 6.
Okay, do you want to pull item 6?
Well, I just make a comment and then I'll move the item if you want.
Okay, yeah.
The comment I have is that what a tremendous report this is, because for all the times I've ever seen our financial reports, and so if Susan did this or her staff, what they need to get little kudos on their back. I've never seen the charts, it's how all of our finance is held. I've never seen it like this. Have you guys seen it like this?
It's great.
I have not seen it before this. This is like our holdings report, everything's in here. We always had questions of stuff, and I just think that it was put together well, the staff report is good, and so I just want to thank the finance department and for such a good report.
And
And
great,
with that, I'll move the items.
pretty darn good returns on the investments that we have there.
Yeah,
So,
they do a good job. So I will move the consent calendar.
all right, do I have a second? Okay, moved by Karpinski Costa, second by Daniels. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Seeing none, measure passes. Next item, please.
Next item is regular calendar, item number 8. The subject is police officers assigned to schools discussion, and the recommendation is to receive a presentation and provide further direction if needed.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Alex Turcott, your Chief of Police. I'm joined tonight by Director of Safe Schools, Mike Jones, and his colleagues from San Juan Unified School District. In March of 2023, council asked that we research the feasibility and cost of returning SROs to the 2 high schools. As way of background, prior to 2021 January, there was a police officer assigned to each high school, both Mesa and San Juan, in a full-time capacity. At that time, those positions were funded through city funds, and the SROs were ultimately removed from the school due to staffing shortages. During that in-between time, Safe Schools took over responsibility for safety inside the schools. We've worked closely with them since that time and have a very good working relationship. They're here tonight, also at the request of council, to provide an update based on their programs and kind of give an overview there. As way of a feasibility study, we looked at returning 2 officers to those high schools based on council request. The initial startup is in the packet here with some of the breakdowns, but the overall cost is approximately $250,000 for a startup cost for the equipment and other accoutrement, if you will, for the 2 full-time officers, and then an annual cost of $340,000 for salary as well as equipment and maintenance of the affected items. So with that, I'll turn it over to the school district unless there's questions what we've had so far. All right, with that, Director of Safe Schools, Mike Jones.
Hi, good evening, Mayor, members of the council, how are you? Thank you for having us back this evening. As Chief Turcott alluded to, we're here to present you not only with some updates from where we were last time, but also a brief overview for the newest members to kind of get a good idea of what the program is, what our staffing model is, and how we're here today, and kind of why this model really works for this district, as well as an example for others. So if you wouldn't mind, I have the coca, right? Excellent. So we'll do a brief review of the Safe Schools program and the model. I'll take care of that. I'll turn over to my colleague, Dan Thigpen. He'll update you on recent major safety investments, as well as the next steps in evaluating those needs and strategies moving forward. The current program for Safe Schools really became, I should say, really entered in 2018. It didn't really become fully staffed until the beginning of 2019 is when it really met its current model. There's one program director, myself. There is a senior safety specialist who acts as the daily supervisor for the team. There's 8 community safety specialists and 1 safe routes to school specialist who deals primarily with education for bicycle and pedestrian safety, as well as working with roadway programs and safety around the schools themselves. The Safe Schools program objectives are we're there to support the development of comprehensive school safety plans, school safety vulnerability assessments and studies, coming in and seeing what practices are put in place and how can we improve upon staffing levels or existing practices to make that school environment safer, reviewing emergency procedures, as well as monitoring and overseeing response drills. We also provide support in the areas of threat assessment, particularly behavioral threat assessments, which deals with those concerning behaviors that are observed by staff, students, families that are reported to us, really to make a determination, is a student on a pathway towards violence. That's not specifically a direct threat assessment statement or threat statement, but that's behaviorals that are associated with that. Critical incident management. In other words, when we have a significant incident on the campus, our staff responds out and assists those administrators in providing the overall management of that incident, helping to make sure there's good communication pathways, liaisoning with our law enforcement and other emergency responses that might come to assist that site. As well as developing individual student safety plans related to IEPs, 504 plans, to really help ensure that each student, regardless of circumstances, has the safest environment for them as possible. We also assist with, on a regular basis, responding to support students who are having some sort of behavioral crisis or rule violations, as well as general disruptions affecting the school site and its overall safety. Our safety specialists are assigned to zones. Each supports approximately 10 schools at this time, give or take a few. In Citrus Heights, there are 12 schools with a single primary CSS supporting those, but directly backed up and supported by 2 additional from the east area. So there's no less than 1, frequently 2 or even 3 in the Citrus Heights area supporting the school sites here. Our CSSs are very well trained. The vast majority of them are former law enforcement officers or probation officers. They are highly educated and trained in school emergency response procedures, active threat response, critical incident management, all the FEMA and NIMS and SIMS requirements, crisis communication and de-escalation skill sets, behavioral threat assessments, therapeutic crisis intervention, which is specifically related to our special education population, crime prevention through environmental design, SEPTED concepts to look at the environments of those school sites and how can we lessen general crimes that are occurring on those campuses. Again, completing vulnerability studies and assessments, as well as all mandated reporter requirements. We work very well and in partnership internally with our district communications teams to ensure appropriate messaging and following up when we have incidents. Our facilities teams, and part of that is overall vulnerability assessment study and looking at how can we improve infrastructure and other issues to bolster school safety. Prevention services through anti-bullying, drug prevention programs and the like, as well as our family and community engagement team. Externally, we have an absolutely outstanding relationship with our law enforcement partners, particularly here in Citrus Heights Police Department. And I could not speak highly enough about the support we receive from them and the relationship we share with that agency. We really collaborate significantly when it comes to any threats that are directed towards general school safety, as well as referring and assisting when it comes to issues of behavioral threat assessment when we believe there's a moderate to high risk that a student may potentially be on a pathway towards violence, to ensure we're actually engaging with our law enforcement partners to have them come in and assist with those. As well as any of those incidents where there might be some level of criminal activity occurring on the school grounds. I'll give you a high-level overview as we go through why this model works here in a moment, but this program really came about, as I mentioned, in 2018, after a good year and a half of significant thought and development. At that time, we had 2 different law enforcement agencies serving this district. I was actually part of one at that moment. I was with the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department and was part of the Safe Schools program there on that side, as well as Citrus Heights Police Department serving those school sites here in Citrus Heights. There was a growing sentiment overall about really, if you can categorize it as mission creep, where law enforcement officers were getting involved significantly in issues that were behavioral related, not necessarily criminal or significantly site safety at the time. Community sentiment, here addressed that, as well as widely it was starting to, kind of build amongst the state and other areas. And people saw that over the next coming years from, 2016, 17, 18, 19, where that presence of law enforcement, although very well appreciated, felt it might be an overreach in some places in our school sites. It's not a bad model to have SROs. It's just not always the best model for particular communities. Here, it worked very well in Citrus Heights for quite some time, up until approximately 2020, 2021, when LAFS officers were pulled out, primarily through restructuring of the police departments, their team and assignments, having to do significantly with COVID. Was a lot of the reasons why we lost those officers there. So we began filling in those additional roles and responsibilities within Citrus Heights. It wasn't anything different than we were doing already. We just spent a little more time focusing within those areas. The changes in laws that came about in 2016 and 17 also significantly affected law enforcement's ability to interact with students, especially in particular in juvenile crimes, what they could and could not do when investigating those crimes involving juveniles. And then, of course, on the sheriff's side, we were facing increased costs with the program model that we had over there. They were making it very prohibitive to maintain that model. And then, of course, staffing availability. We were frequently finding, even within Citrus Heights, as members would potentially be reassigned to new assignments, whether it be through promotion or some other method, it was a little slower getting bodies to fill in those gaps. And again, that was just a change at the time that was going on. So this model began to grow and flourish and really find its legs in supporting the school sites and safety. So this model works very well because the CSSs really are a trusted and very responsive member of that school community. They're well known. We're not part of the disciplinary process. We're not investigative in the sense that we have that criminal angle, the ability to arrest. So when we engage with our students, when we engage with our staff, we become very trusted, we become very well known. We serve often as mentors besides just simply safety specialists, which helps to really garner information. Information that we can communicate and we can actually engage with from our students that law enforcement frequently can't. But that's where our relationships become so important, because we're able to share that information as appropriate for that school safety purposes. So it really is very effective. There's a lot of, I should say the majority of the incidents, even when officers were on campus, that officers dealt with were behavioral based. I did a quick, just high level review of some of the data for the last year. And within the last year, we found only about 24 incidents where we actually requested law enforcement, Citrus Heights Police Department, to come to a school during school hours for support. In contrast, there's over 300 incidents where the safety specialists were engaged in high-level critical incidents that were behavioral related. So again, it just goes to show a little bit of contrast. Now, that's not all the incidents that Citrus Heights Police Department responded to assist us with. There are after-hours theft, after-hours burglaries, even threat assessments that were occurring after hours that we engaged with. But during the course of those school hours, it just shows the difference where the majority of the work that we're doing is behavioral based. It's school rule violations. It's those types of incidents that we can actually engage with and help to support that student, help to support that family, and help to support that site in becoming safer and having a better experience while on campus. So I want to turn it over to my partner, Dan Thigpen.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Daniel Thigpen, Executive Director of Labor and Government Affairs for the San Juan Unified School District. Mayor and council members, thanks for having us tonight. I also just want to introduce one of my colleagues in the audience, our Chief of Staff, Trent Allen, who oversees many aspects of our school district, including the Safe Schools program, to make sure that there's coherence and communication between a variety of departments. He's here to help answer questions tonight with Mike and myself. So we've talked a little bit about the model tonight, how that has evolved, and one of the things that we want to also provide updates on and help emphasize is that it takes multiple layers of strategies and investments to ensure that our students, staff, and community remain safe every day before, during, and after school. So first, I'm going to talk a little bit about some infrastructure investments that our board has set aside and that continues to be phased in throughout our entire district, including in our Citrus Heights schools. So in June of last summer, our school board adopted a resolution earmarking $10 million of bond funds specifically to review, assess our vulnerability at our school sites and make direct infrastructure investments in our schools. And to phase that in over a period of time where we had opportunities either to piggyback off of existing modernizations or we had turnkey projects and build that into our overall master plan. So for a time period after that, Mr. Jones, our facilities team, and other district staff in partnership with law enforcement, walked our sites, looked at plans and conducted detailed site assessments, including vulnerability assessments, looking at that access points, entry and exit, traffic flow, and a whole host of other details to see where we might be able to make some improvements. Including in that safety implementation planning, a large focus is on fencing, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that and how we're phasing that in and which school sites in Citrus Heights are part of that plan. But a few of the other things that we began looking at and will continue to see where we can target investments is looking at our camera systems. So our schools have a variety of cameras that are at different ages and functionality. And so we want to make sure that on a rolling basis, either during existing modernizations or where we have an opportunity to scale some upgrades, we want to make sure that we have the most useful technology possible to be able to capture activity that's concerning or that would be helpful to us or to law enforcement investigating something. And one of the single most effective safety measures you can take in a school is being able to, is interior door locking. So we want to make sure across all of our 65 campuses that we have the resources necessary to ensure that that is something that can be taken advantage of. So fencing completed to date. So when we look at the previous school year, What were some of the projects that we were able to bring to completion as part of that initial phase of looking at safety implementation and that investment in fencing? We had 24 school sites completed to date, including the handful that you see here in Citrus Heights, including Sylvan Middle, Woodside, Skycrest, Grand Oaks, and Carriage Drive. This current school year, we have a couple of more among the dozen across the district that we're looking to improve. And that can include, it's not that these sites don't have any fencing. San Juan High School, Arlington Heights, for instance, have some perimeter fencing. But again, when you look at it from a different lens, from a school safety and vulnerability assessment, where can we fill gaps? So Arlington Heights is on the list, and so is San Juan High School for this year. As we get into out years, 24, 25, and we look at cost fluctuations and what were the final bills on these projects, available funding is going to dictate how many we are going to be able to continue to phase in over the long term, or we have to re-engage our board in dialogue around that. But right now, part of the plan for the following school year, 24-25, would include Mesa Verde High School, Lichen, and Kingswood. Some of the other measures that our facilities team and Safe Schools identified as easy wins for these investments include purchasing door locking blocks. I have a subject matter expert behind me, so I'm just going to give this the highest level view that I can. But essentially, these are devices that allow school staff and teachers to lock their doors very quickly, very effectively, without having to fumble for their keys or find their keys and lock all of those access points. You're seeing more and more of those installed across the nation. And again, we're continuing to review the latest technology related to surveillance cameras and monitoring capabilities, and taking a look to see if there's a good fit for us on potential future upgrades in our schools. So that's the infrastructure component. We've talked about the safe schools and partnerships with law enforcement. But I do want to emphasize something that Mr. Jones stated earlier related to the difference between behaviors and behavior issues on campuses and criminal activity. And certainly when we have seen throughout the nation students commit violent acts, what are some of the traits that we see in common? They lacked trusting relationships with other students or adults on campus, isolation, maybe bullying, mental health issues. There were many red flags, right? And one of the most effective things that you can do is to invest in the personnel and provide them the training necessary to build those trusting relationships with students so that they do not feel isolated, so they're not acting out, and you're reducing those red flag behaviors. So an investment that we're making this year, and in Citrus Heights, it's roughly about $830,000, which will result in the equivalent of 10 new full-time positions in our schools. These will be campus personnel to enhance and expand those that already exist on campus, to help have eyeballs on kids, certainly supervise and look out for those warning behaviors, but also to be trained in best practices and evidence-based practices in building positive relationships with students. Sometimes a child can have that relationship with their teacher, they can have it with their principal, or they can have it with the campus monitor or the school community intervention resource specialist. We want to make sure that we're not leaving any tools or resources off the table. We have the funds available to do this through our local control and accountability plan. And we know that needs can be different across different school sites, depending on the size of your school, what you're hearing from your community, what feedback you're getting from staff and students. So the school governance teams, school site councils, which involve parents, staff, and the administrative leadership there, are currently having conversations around what their allocation is going to be and how they would like to best use that among a menu of options that the district is providing them. Our schools are very excited to be able to take advantage of this and add personnel at a time where sometimes it just feels like there aren't enough boots on the ground, for lack of a better term, to be able to watch those hallways or those passing periods, and also take the time out to talk to a student who maybe you see is maybe disengaging a little bit. We have to invest in robust professional development and training, regardless of what your role is, whether you're a Safe Schools designee, whether you're a campus monitor, whether you're a community intervention specialist. We work with our labor partners to maximize participation in those trainings. And this year, we were able to, for the first time, partner with our classified school union. These are our staff that are non-teaching. We have certificated and classified. We partnered with CSEA to actually make this year's Campus Monitor in school supervision training mandatory. That happened yesterday. We had dozens, I don't know the number off the top of my head right now, but we had all of our staff across our entire district and 65 sites participating in partnership with Schools Insurance Authority and Safe Schools to ensure that we have consistency across our district on what are the practices that are most effective in keeping students safe. So some of those included the criminal activity, drug recognition, how to respond to incidents, but also the proactive pieces around conflict resolution, improving communication, and de-escalating those situations when students and adults are up here and bringing them down to here. So together, we hope that and continue to feel confident that these are a whole host and package of strategies that will continue to strengthen safety in our schools, but we know that that is evolving. The research on it and the results in our existing practices continue to evolve. We survey our families every single year. We call it our school climate survey about a whole host of issues, and one of them is their perceptions of safety on their campus. So we're good at asking that question. I think what we want to do a better job of and give some thought to starting this year is how do we dive deeper into that? So if perceptions are strong, where do they potentially still see some gaps? What is their personal experience at their school site? What do they see when they walk down the hallway or around the perimeter of campus that maybe might not be on our radar or might not be uplifted from a general annual survey? So we're going to be much like we did with our innovative school process and our early elementary community feedback process, giving some thought to how we get rich feedback and input to help strengthen our existing practices. I mentioned earlier partnering with our staff and their employee leadership to continue to give some thought to this. Again, we've had some wins this year that we want to try to scale. And then Mr. Jones mentioned our partnership with Citrus Heights Police and local law enforcement and your chief, which is very positive, and we want to continue that dialogue around, like Vice Mayor Daniels saw today, how do we potentially use existing resources to increase presence at key times, continuing to look at trends in entry and exits and traffic flow on campuses, both pedestrian and vehicle, and what is the research telling us may be an effective use of resources to meet our shared interest of ensuring our school sites are safe. So we're also happy to answer any questions if you have.
Great. Any questions or comments from council? Dr. Jana?
That was a good presentation, thank you. I have just one question that kind of fluttered through. The community safety specialists, you have one basically for all 12 schools. What's the, just ballpark, what's the annual cost for that position?
The annual cost for that position is, I'm going to say the working number is probably what, 170 in that area, total benefits included?
I didn't hear what he
I'd say
said.
approximately 150, 150,000.
Okay.
Question? Dean?
I just want to compliment you on a wonderful, informative presentation. I think that was very comprehensive. You did answer my questions. I had a question on slide 3. If we have, how many are allocated specifically to Citrus Heights, and you said for sure 1, but at any time they can pull two more. The other question I had that you also answered on slide 14 was potential for personnel growth. And I also like the fact that you said you're constantly assessing. So it's fresh data that you're using versus simply saying we're going to put them here, here, and here with no data that supports. So thank you very much for having a very thoughtful presentation.
Brett?
Yeah, thank you very much for all the updates on, future plans. I think those are extremely important. And I think they are very responsive to some of the issues that we have here, nationwide, whatever. So I think that's very good. I just want to clarify a few points. Dr. Jana just touched on one. I think when you presented previously, the supervisor is a working supervisor,
Yes,
and so it's a 9-man team, basically.
yes.
And it's a 9-man team that covers, I thought it was 66 schools, but I think he said 65 campuses throughout the district. And then, again, clarifying what Dr. Jana said, for our 12 schools, though, in Citrus Heights, including 2 high schools, a middle school, 3 K-8s, and 6 elementaries, we only have 1 officer or community safety specialist assigned to that.
Correct.
Correct.
One specifically assigned with 2 supporting officers.
Yeah, so on any given time, though, on any given day, that specialist, safety specialist might be at any school amongst those 12 schools, correct? So there's not a person, a safety specialist on site at any particular school all day long.
No, and the one thing to be very clear about is, and I mentioned one of the first presentation several months back, the community safety specialists are not law enforcement, nor are they site security. They are resources to help support that administration, that school community to develop a safe environment. They do respond to provide support where behavioral issues are occurring. But in instances where, should a crime be occurring, we immediately inform our law enforcement partners to begin, as well as we respond to assist, provide that support necessary. So no, they are not there as a specific security aspect. They wear many, many hats throughout the day. And as I mentioned, each safety specialist, serves about 10 schools as a whole, give or take, based on their zone number, what there is. And each of them work independently within that zone, but supported by those neighboring CSSs in the nearby zone. We've had instances where we have moved every safety specialist to a particular site based on the need. So it is a fluid, team. We're able to move and address those safety issues, those concerns, work collaboratively as well as independently.
And there were at least 24 times when you guys called law enforcement in Citrus Heights, you said,
Yes,
correct? Was that over the last year?
that was during this last year to date, yeah.
And then, I don't mean to offend with this question, honestly, I really don't.
Okay.
But do you see the addition of Citrus Heights officers at the schools, at these 2 high schools, as a threat to the Safe Schools programs or to
Absolutely
kids
not.
on the campus?
Absolutely not.
So you would then, I think, agree that it could be a complementary type of relationship where Safe Schools continues to operate, continues to come into Citrus Heights, continues to do the wonderful work they're doing with that program, while also being supplemented or augmented, or whatever word wants to be used, with 2 sworn police officers, 1 at Mesa Verde and 1 at San Juan High School. You wouldn't see that as a detriment or an obstacle.
Not for my team, no.
That's all I have for the speaker.
Okay, so, at your last presentation, I asked a very specific question. Do you recall what that was?
I don't at this time, no.
So I asked, how many incidents in the last year were weapons of any kind, guns or knives, involved? And I never heard anything from that. So, but the other piece that I find a little concerning is that just a couple weeks after you were here on April 4th, there was a parent that went on campus early in the morning when the students were. This was a video that was on the news. And I just want to say, it only takes one incident for the pyramid to sort of come tumbling down. And my concern is that, yes, here's a parent that didn't follow protocols, which was what the school district's response was. I have been following the criminal case against the parent, and she's, I don't know if she was supposed to go to court this month, 6 months after the fact that happened. I talked to the DA's office. But yeah, that's a pretty big concern, that here's a parent that it's, in that particular scenario, it's the school doors are open because the students are going to school at that time. So there's no quick button where I can close and lock the door because students are trying to go in and out of the classroom. So it's kind of, while it's a good measure to have, it's one that fell short on this particular incident. Like I said, only takes one time. Uvalde only happened once. So that's a pretty big concern for me. And again, I like your approach. Your approach is very much preventive, to understand the culture of the school grounds and what's happening and who the actors might be. But in this particular case, I don't think Uvalde it wasn't a student body member that committed that atrocity. So that's I think that it's important to project a certain level of strength that deters people from committing these kinds of acts. So that's the only comment I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, I actually have some comments now.
Okay.
So, just going over my notes. So I know you said that the district allocated $830,000 to Citrus Heights specifically. Is that correct?
Dan, you want to?
It was on one of the, like, next to last slides or something.
Of the total allocation across all of our schools, that represented the allocation towards Citrus Heights schools.
Great. And then for the 10.1 individuals that you're expected to hire, was that Citrus Heights specific?
Correct.
Okay. So it looks, so, because I understand that like our SROs were taking off campus because of constraints in our department, right? And that's what our chief said, that's what you guys said. It wasn't because the registration wasn't working, it was just constraints of availability. You have a process in place, from my understanding, to hire on more individuals to serve not just 2 schools, our high schools, but to serve multiple schools within our district and within our city, which is important because I'm not just concerned about the high school safety, I'm concerned about the safety of all students. I have 2 kids, who attend San Juan schools. I want all the kids in the schools to be safe, not just, waiting on 2 officers from the high schools to rush over to an incident at a middle school that could probably be handled or be quickly notify the police about it happening, right? I'm also concerned about if we re-implement this program, we're talking about pension liabilities on our end. We're talking about in the chief's report, there is no budget line item for this. And we understand with our department what we're trying to do, and what we're trying to build a department, build a safe city, but we're also trying to maintain a budget. And we don't want to do that at the expense of our students, but if this district has a plan in place to increase and to work with us to make this happen, I think everything that we said to you in those previous meetings that we've had when you've come to council previously, you took it to heart. And I see that based on what your plan is here, that you have a solid plan in place, and I would like to see that through and see how that's really going to affect all of our students, not just our high school students.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I'm not done with the item.
Oh. I'm sorry, okay,
I was just done with the presentation.
okay.
Recommendations from council.
Yeah. Hold on, Tim.
Sorry.
So, anybody else, or I didn't want to
No,
jump?
go ahead.
Okay, so, again, the very good presentation. I like those things that I've heard. I think Councilmember Portia Middleton makes some good comments about the usefulness of them. I think they do add to helping, with what's going on in our schools. Those are great things. But the bottom line is the bottom line, and that is, that doesn't rise to the level of a police officer in each of our high schools. I see most of those things as usually reactive, and I see hopefully the addition of police officers in the schools as mostly proactive. There was some discussion earlier about positive relationships. We discussed things about layers, why we do things. If we put up a fence, we don't need anything else. We know that's not true. I don't mean somebody said that. I mean layers. If we develop layers, so we put up fences. We have monitors. We have other people on campus to watch things, and all putting another police officer a police officer in these schools is add another layer. It's a very effective layer. I think we tend to look at this issue a little too restrictive. I think the opportunity to build very positive relationships between extremely impressionable kids during a time that, they're probably weighing, which way do I go in life sometimes, and an opportunity to have a positive relationship with a police officer, I think can sway that path. Certainly wouldn't think just the opposite, just because certainly a kid's not going to go on a negative path because he has a positive relationship. So I think that can only be a good thing. I think that if we look at, again, beyond what these two officer positions could do for us as a city, that's important too. Strategically, putting officers at San Juan allows an officer to respond anywhere in the southern part of our city, probably within a minute or so. Putting an officer on the Mesa Verde side lets an officer respond to anything where he might be needed within a minute on the north side. I think that's extremely beneficial. If we put these officers in our schools, there are 180 school days a year. That means there's 185 non-school days a year. Subtract 104 for weekends, and you come up with 81 non-school days. Subtract another 21 days for maybe vacations, holidays, whatever, and you come up with 60 extra days of police coverage by each officer. That's 2 officers working 12 weeks, 5 days a week in our community where they might also be needed. They would be out during things like Christmas time where they could be used in areas where we're concerned about retail theft. They could be used during the summer when police activity spikes usually during the hotter times of the year. There's a lot of benefits, and so I think we have to really go beyond looking at, is it just about putting a cop in a school? And it's not. There's a bigger benefit to the city as a whole. There's a huge benefit to the kids in those schools, and this is not a budget issue. If this is a budget issue and something happened at one of these schools when we could have done that because, well, we don't have it as a line item in our budget, how tragic would that be? It's our budget. We modify it. We modify it all the time. We can do that. We have a surplus in our budget. We have a surplus of way above and beyond what this council has set as our goal. And so the funds are there. We just have to decide where's the priority. Is the priority in keeping our kids safer and keeping our community safer, or is it just in keeping dollars in the bank so that we stay within a budget? So I'm prepared to move this forward with other recommendations, but I'll hold off on that until I hear from the rest of the council.
Okay. So, anybody else have anything to say? Because I need to ask for public. Amy, is there any public comments on this item?
I have not received any speaker cards for this item.
Would anybody like to speak on this item? Seeing none? Okay. All right, so any additional comments or questions from council? Okay. We have the next item, please.
No, wait.
Oh.
Slow down, Tim. They're looking for some recommendations. I'm going to recommend that we bring this item back for consideration to fund the 2 police officers at one at each school for Mesa Verde and San Juan, and that we do that, consider doing that with general fund dollars.
Do I have a second? I'll second. Okay. So, any other?
Just a clarification, don't we need a majority to move this forward?
We need 2 people to bring it back for consideration.
Ryan?
You would, if we're looking to just have a discussion, whether you do it now or at future agenda items would be sort of the same thing, and it does require 2 per policy. In terms of if there's giving more than just direction to have a meeting, you would need a majority. So I think I heard to have a meeting and then to discuss funding. So there's no action to actually fund it. It's just to have the meeting. So I would say 2 people would be okay to keep that item on the next or upcoming agenda item.
Perfect, thank you.
I understood his motion was to fund it.
I think it was to discuss funding.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not on the agenda to fund tonight, so that wouldn't be a proper discussion yet.
Okay. Can we move on now?
Now we can.
All right, can we move on to the next item, please?
The next item is regular calendar, item number 9. The subject is designation of voting delegate and alternates for the League of California Cities Annual Conference. And the Cal Cities Annual Conference is being held September 20th through 22nd of this year. And during the conference, they will hold an annual business meeting whereby the membership considers and takes action on resolutions that establish Cal Cities policy. And staff is recommending that the city council make a motion to designate a voting delegate and up to 2 alternates to participate at the annual business meeting on Friday, September 22nd during the conference. The council members do have to be registered to attend the conference to participate at the annual business meeting. And my understanding is that there are 3 council members that are currently registered to attend the Cal Cities Conference. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
I would make a motion that we designate Portia Middleton as our voting delegate.
She's on the board.
No.
Oh, you can't, you're still
Yeah.
doing that thing?
Oh, yeah, and I'm also the president of the division, so.
All right, then Jane Taff is our voting delegate and Jana Karpinski Costa as our alternate.
I do not want to be the alternate, please.
Okay?
Why don't you do it?
I second the motion for Jane Taft to be our delegate. I'll be the alternate.
Okay.
Oh, good.
I'll modify my motion to include the mayor as the alternate.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes.
Okay, thank you. The next item is regular calendar, item number 10. The subject is Citrus Heights ordinance amendments regarding penalty provisions to sections 50-507, 50-605, 78-53, and 98-132. And the recommendation is to introduce an ordinance and hold the first reading and read by title only, amending the sections of the Citrus Heights Municipal Code.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and the community. Jason Russo, Police Commander, Investigations Commander for Citrus Heights Police Department. I'm here today to bring forward an amendment to the Muni Code. It's basically designed to give us alternative avenues to hold people accountable for some of our violations and also make them consistent with some of our other Muni Code violations, which provide the resource for an infraction, a civil action, as well as a misdemeanor, where these sections currently only allow for a misdemeanor. So these amendments will provide avenues to prosecute in a lower level court as appropriate and give us the ability to not burden the criminal justice system or the higher courts with these misdemeanor crimes by reducing them to infractions or civil actions when we find them appropriate. Staff recommends the council move a motion to hold the first reading and schedule for a second reading to amend sections 50-507, which is illegal camping, 50-605, which is public consumption of alcohol, section 7853, unsafe panhandling, and section 98-132, which is unlawful urination or defecation in public.
All right, we have a motion? Any questions or any questions to staff? Nope.
I move the item. Staff's recommendation.
Second?
And Mayor, I do not have any speaker cards for this item, but I just
Thank
wanted
you.
to check to see if we had any.
Anyone here like to speak on this item? Seeing none. Thank you. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Do we need, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Seeing none opposed, motion passes.
Thank you, council.
Next item, please.
Next item is department reports, and there are none. So the next item is city manager items.
Well, good evening, Mayor Schaefer, Vice Mayor Daniels, members of the Citrus Heights City Council, your city manager, Ashley Feeney, with a few updates here. One announcement that I shared with the council and we posted on our social media channels, as well as put a posting on our webpage, is Metro Fire announced the hiring of the new fire chief for Sac Metro Fire, and that's Chief Adam House, who was sworn in today by their board. There will be a changing of the guard ceremony, if you will, that'll be very public here in the coming months. So stay tuned for that, but we're looking forward to continuing a very high level of service for the Citrus Heights community under Chief House's leadership. This was discussed at council comments, but a lot of fun was had at National Night Out. It's our National Night Out Against Crime, bringing our law enforcement community together with neighbors in our neighborhood areas. Held quite a few parties that night. Actually, there's so many, it was hard to get to all of them, even when you had a police escort. But a terrific event. Neighbors got together. Block parties were held in parks. They were held at people's houses. They were held in the street. Very cool. A lot of good community building that happened there. And the other thing about National Night Out, it started in 1984. And it's been a strong tradition here in Citrus Heights. And actually, I believe we had more events this year than we've had in years past. So it's a growing event here in Citrus Heights. Definitely encourage folks to turn out. A lot of fun was had. And definitely appreciate all that were involved in the planning with that, especially those in our police department that helped put that event together, working with our neighborhood areas, and really a lot of thanks to REACH, as well as all of our neighborhood areas that participated in that, put a lot of work into those events. It was really meaningful, and thank you for their entire council for attending that as well. City Scoop, next one coming up at August 16th at the Sylvan Community Center from 6:30 to 8. Looking forward to that. Come out, get some ice cream, and spend some time with your neighbors. Sunday Fun Day, rolling out some more fun here. So September 24th, this is the longstanding Citrus Heights event, Sunday Fun Day. It's at Rush Park. It'll be from 11 to 3 o'clock, again on Sunday, September 24th. There are vending opportunities available. We're actively seeking vendors for this event. So if you're in the audience or you're watching, please go to this link. We'd love to have you come out to Sunday Fun Day. There's also great representation by service clubs, neighborhood area groups, as well as many others. So food trucks, inflatables. Of course, our Citrus Heights Community Marching Band puts on some terrific performances there as well. This was really a terrific ceremony. There was the oath of office, and as you can see in this picture, we've got a fantastic group that came forward. This was on August 8th. Chief Turcotte had the honor of conducting an oath of office ceremony. And this included all of our new hires and our recent police academy graduates. You can see there that we had a number of police officers who did very well in the academy. Actually, we had 3 awards that came out of our group of police officers that attended the academy out of their entire academy. So
I heard we had Top Gun, the best shooter.
yeah, we had Top Gun, we had most inspirational, and we had the most academic. So fantastic mix there. And so you can see we had the ceremony there. You can see the group there with Chief Turcotte and myself, as well as we had a reserve police officer that was sworn in, a new police dispatcher, records assistant, code enforcement officer, and a new program assistant. But this chamber was full of family and supporters, so it was just a really, really great thing to see. You know, we definitely had some sad news with the loss of Katie Ryhide. She's our dispatcher, and she passed away unexpectedly on Thursday, August 3rd from a medical issue while she was off duty. That news definitely hit our team really hard. She's a big part of the Citrus Heights family, and she'd served Citrus Heights since 2016. Also, her husband, Rick, was a former CHPD police officer as well. She's a fantastic mother, co-worker, and friend to many. Definitely going to be missed, and there's a lot of heavy hearts here at the city as well as Citrus Heights PD in losing somebody that was truly a great person. So hearts go out to her and her family and all those that knew her. So, and that concludes my comments.
Well, thank you. I just, yeah. All right, so next item, please.
Next item is items requested by council members or future agenda items.
We didn't announce that there's no council meeting, second one in August?
Yeah, there will be no council meeting on August 24th, the second meeting in August.
So
There's a summer
the
recess.
loyalists who love to come, just, you get the month off, the rest of the month off.
Okay, any other items or comments? Okay. All right, so it's with a heavy heart that I adjourn this meeting, and I just want to honor Katie Verheide. We offer our sincerest condolences to her family and the colleagues at the police department. This meeting's adjourned.
That's not good.
No, it didn't come out of my phone.
No?
Nope. It's probably out of your computer. Yes, I do want to talk to him. I got a bunch of stuff to sign. It's not that much.
Good night.